So it's the last day of summer, and what better way to spend it than a full day of street photography in a colourful city like Brighton. As always, I start off with a few practice shots to build my confidence and get my eye in and connected to the environment. I don't generally find photos of people from behind all that interesting, but it can be a great way to get into the flow by firing off an easy shot or two. The main focus for me for the day was to continue getting a bit closer and focusing my street photography more on people, moments and little stories here and there on the street. I like the look of this cafe and snap off a quick shot. I'm still not feeling super confident at this point, so there isn't much in this one, to be honest. I really liked the scenery in this location though, and the colour of the boats and the bollards made for a great stage. So I spent a bit of time here to see if anyone interacted with the scene or something unfolded to capture it with my camera. Not a huge amount of substance to these shots, to be honest, but I really enjoyed the aesthetics and the colours of the scene. Now this shot is one that I think really works because I waited for eye contact, which I'm starting to do a lot more in my street photography. I feel like you connect more to the moment in an image as a viewer if you can see the subject's eyes in the frame. They don't need to be looking at the camera, but just having that viewpoint I think can be powerful, and I'm looking to experiment more with that in my work at the moment. I tend to follow my gut when I'm on a street photo walk, and I just wander wherever I feel like there's potential for something to happen, so I headed back into the city, as there wasn't really much going on the beachfront. Now this scene is something I used to look for a lot in my work, reflections and abstraction. I still do look for those kind of shots, as you can see here, but it's not my main focus for today. If I find a scene that I think works for an aesthetic abstract shot, I'll still take the image, but I definitely feel I progress more when I go on a photo walk with one idea to try to improve on. But for this shot here, I focused on the glass and waited for someone to walk past just to anchor the image, and they made for a couple of nice abstract photographs. Focusing back more on people, and while I know running and gunning and photographing any mildly interesting person isn't going to result in incredible images, it is helping me to get the confidence up to photograph people even when they notice me with my camera. When I keep practicing this, I know I'll then be ready when I do come across a scene where there's a person with character or a great moment. I'll be less likely to hesitate and more likely to get the shot that I want. I love coffee, and I always find I don't fully get into the flow on a street photography walk without a nice hot cup of coffee. So I had to get my caffeine fix before carrying on. Big shout out to Workshop in Brighton for the flat white. I really like this scene. The matching red of the shop and this guy's shirt really worked for me. But it's a shame he was looking at his phone, as that generally just kills a shot for me unless there's also something interesting going on to make it work. But people on their phones is just the way it is in this current day and age, and it's still worth documenting it all the same. This unusual golden tassel hanging outside a shop caught my eye, especially as I noticed a lot of people were walking into it or touching it, and I thought that there was potential for an engaging and unusual image here. To be honest, I could have spent hours waiting for the right interaction, but I wanted to go and try my luck elsewhere as well. Having said that, I did spend a good half an hour here. I definitely got some images that I really like and I feel are a bit unusual, which for me is always a good thing. I missed some on the GoPro, but down the busy North Lane I shot a few candid portraits of some characters that caught my eye, just to keep on practicing taking photographs of people sort of at eye level. The light was just beautiful here, and I really enjoyed the character in this man's face, which was lit up by the light reflecting off the table. I also enjoyed the colours in the shot, and it's one that I think works really well. Just round the corner I snapped off a shot of this lady carrying a load of flowers. These are the kinds of things that I'm keeping my eyes open for when I'm out on the street. Something a little odd or different or unusual that might make for an engaging photo. I've always really struggled to get photos that I like on Brighton Pier for some reason. I don't really know why, but maybe because it's so cliche or so familiar to me, as I grew up in this part of the UK. But yeah, I still always give it a go when I'm in town, but to varying degrees of success. I did really like this scene though, and I feel like it captured the mood and the light of the day. It's a little cliche maybe, and there's not much going on, but it's still a photo worth making nonetheless. Next, as it was starting to get a bit busier, I headed down onto the seafront, and there's always something going on along the boardwalk. I thought this couple eating their ice creams looked great, so I just waited for the right moment to frame up a composition that worked, and then snapped off the shot, which is a fun little seaside image. Brighton has a quite famous basketball court on the seafront, and I spent a bit of time here trying to fill the frame with some action. There wasn't a whole lot going on, but I tried to snap off some shots including interesting characters that walk past to give a bit of layering and depth. Since I started shooting wider, I've been really trying to make more work that includes a lot of elements in the scene, which is quite hard to do, and it's also very different for the kind of work I used to make. So it's definitely a work in progress to improve my skills, but it's a lot of fun though. Back in the city, and there's a bit of hustle and bustle around these couple of buskers promoting their next concert. Scenes like this always make great opportunities for capturing moments in the fringes. So I waited around, tried a few different angles and made some shots of people coming and going around the buskers. I especially like the last shot here of these two girls, because as they walked past, one of them got a wink and a smile from the young lads busking, and they were clearly obviously very happy with that. I made my way into the park to get a break from the busyness of the city streets and noticed this guy who happily had a bunch of pigeons sitting on him. It's not something you see every day, so I made sure to fire off a couple of shots here. This banjo player was so good, so while I was enjoying his music, I tried to get a shot which included a few people in the frame, interacting with the scene rather than just a boring shot of the busker on his own. Whatever street photography style you have, or whatever street photos you like to make, it can always be beneficial to see how you can layer up and provide more visual interest in your photos where you can. Heading back down to the seafront, and this lady caught my eye. I loved her outfit and her hat, so I snapped off a quick shot and then headed down to see if I could make an image to include this big donut sculpture that I've never really photographed before. A simple but effective idea to use a bit of subframing to capture someone inside the circle, and even though it wasn't what I was aiming for the walk, it still ended up being one of my favourite shots of the day. Walking back along the seafront, and unfortunately my GoPro had a funny 5 minutes and it wasn't recording properly, but I've included a couple of shots I captured while I was heading back to try my luck on the pier before heading home. Back on Brighton Pier, and I had a bit of fun hijacking someone's photo shoot. I always like to see if I can make an interesting image from someone's photo shoot, or someone taking a photo of somebody else, for example, as they can often be pulling a funny pose or doing something interesting, and out of context it can make for a fun photo. In this case I just enjoyed the pose and the colours and fired up a couple of snapshots. The pier was really quiet, but the light was so lovely, so I just spent a bit of time wandering around and enjoying the weather. And I still came away with a couple of simple shots of the workers on the pier. I liked their red shirts as they stood out in contrast to the buildings, adding a splash of colour to the scene. Finally, as I made my way back to the bus to head off, I fired off one shot. Again, it's at the back of someone's head, but in this case I think it really works, as it's a scene you would usually see from the front. And then while I was waiting for the bus, I got a fun one, which was the last shot of the day, but I missed it on the GoPro. If you made it this far, thanks so much for watching along. Please drop a comment below, as it really helps support the video with the algorithm. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.